He is the winner of the Albert Einstein Medal. He is also honored with the Data Quest Lifetime Achievement Award 2018. He is recognized as an eminent engineering personality by the Institution of Engineers India. He has a huge contribution to the society and especially IIT Kharagpur. He has been instrumental in establishing the Professor G.S. Sanegal School of Telecommunications and the Amin Farooqui Center of Innovation at IIT Kharagpur. He is an active supporter of public health initiatives through the Antara Foundation and the Indian Institute of Public Health Delhi. He promotes Indian classical music and culture and as a founding member of the Speak Make. Sri Malhotra comes from a family that valued education and intellectual pursuits. His maternal grandfather, a renowned zoologist, inspired his love for learning. His father, a British Army veteran, and his mother, a medical doctor, instilled strong values of education and independence. Arjun sir and his wife Kiran, madam, are dedicated to the community service. They have two children, Purva and Shivan, and three grandchildren. Arjun sir is a devout animal lover and has rescued numerous dogs. Arjun sir is with us today. We'd like to hear more from you, sir. Arjun sir, please.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you for that detailed introduction. Yes, no, it's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure to talk to IIT Kharagpur alums. What can I say? I'd love for you to ask me questions, or for them to ask me questions. I'd be happy to answer them. That way, I know instead of just talking, I'd be discussing queries that are relevant to them, instead of just giving what I think is right.
So, sir, I will start with a question like, sir, to start with, you have been entrepreneur all through your life and you have led very big organizations. So now, and with IIT Kharagpur, many of our alumni are also going into entrepreneurship. What is your advice or suggestion for the new the IIT Kharagpur alumni who are going into entrepreneurship? How should they go for it?
Okay, so I've got to mention that I did work for 5 years with DCM. I started off as a senior management trainee, and after 1 year of training, I was in DCM Data Products. Those 5 years actually were really important because they got me or let me understand how the Indian business environment is, and it also helped me develop some contacts of people who later on became customers. And when you have a startup, being able to get revenue and grow your revenues is very important. And having these contacts really helped because you could go to them, tell them you've got this new product that does something different, better, whatever your sales proposition is, your value proposition is to the customer, and then you go in. Finding customers, cold calling, it gets very difficult. So my advice to people would be to actually work for a few years, understand how the world works, identify a niche or a product or a gap that you see in the market, and then try and see how you can fulfill it. You have to have a passion for what you do, according to me. If you want to be an entrepreneur,
Thank
the
you.
passion is very important.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I feel that you are suggesting that they should work in the industry for a couple of years, maybe learn something, and then with the existing contracts, maybe they should then try to build up their own, maybe whatever the gaps they feel, and how
Yeah.
they can build up it. That's nice, sir. Sir, as a group, the IIT Kharagpur Alumni Foundation India, we have the more than 74,000 alumni. How can, as a group, we can help these budding entrepreneurs?
So we've set up something called IIT Startups
Mhm.
that helps all IITian entrepreneurs if they need help. We started it in Silicon Valley. We now have an India chapter, and as we mature, we will start moving to more and more chapters. This is a not-for-profit organization. It really helps IITians who most of them come from a technical background, and helps them structure their startup in terms of market access, etc., etc. If you go to the site iitstartups.org, there will be a lot of videos there from experts in the field who have run workshops and tell you how to do various aspects that a startup has to go through. I would really encourage people to go there and listen to some of these videos. They give you some very good advice.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Uh, as we see, sir, in the last couple of decades, like most of the innovation, is looking from the US. In India, though, we have so many IITs, but many of the innovations, maybe the IITians who are here, when they go abroad, we see the innovative approaches there. But here, maybe the recently we have some startups, but so many innovations don't come out. What may be the reasons for that?
So that I sort of don't agree with that statement. We are seeing a number of innovations in India. You don't read about them because for some reason the press doesn't seem to think they're important. But definitely in medical devices, you're seeing a lot of very interesting frugal medical devices come out. You're seeing a lot of advances in diagnostic testing, especially for what in the US are called emerging and neglected diseases, which are like dengue and chikungunya and stuff, which are very important for us in India, tuberculosis being another one. You're also starting to see breakthroughs in um, the computer area. And the reason why I'm saying it took us time, or reason why I think it took us time, is you need a large domestic market before you can make breakthroughs. Unless you have a lot of marketing people sitting in the US, you don't really get a read of the market. You go and sell to people who need something. Right. And a lot of what we did initially was, what I would call a lower cost. Only now we are starting to do value add from the Indian IT services industry. I think the minute we start putting marketing people within our organization in the US, you will start looking at products that are going to come, which is why you see IITians in the US doing it because they work with organizations that have marketing and they see what the gaps are. And then they try and see how they can fill it, or they feel that how they can take it to the next step in the future and then build a product that's going to move in that direction. It peaks every time there's a new technology that comes. And right now with AI, you're seeing a lot of startups come in and think that they can change the world in some form. So I really would tell people, go look at your market. There are lots of things you can do here. I mean, I'll give a simple example. The government has talked, all state governments have talked about how during the pandemic, rural children who didn't have access to smart devices got left behind on education. And they're trying to get them to play catch up. And India is talking ultimately, if you take the demand from all the states, something in the range of 100 million tablets for education. Right. Now, they won't buy it all together, but by the time they finish buying what they talk about buying, it'll be close to 100 million. Now okay, one thing, if we can consolidate the demand, I can force chip manufacturers and everyone to come here. But bottom line is, ideally, what is the product someone in a rural area wants in India? He wants a laptop that's repairable. I don't want to have to seal laptop that I ship to Delhi and wait 3 weeks or 2 weeks till a replacement or a repaired laptop comes back to me. So I need it repairable in a town close by, a small town close by, and I have to train people to repair it. I need it upgradable because ideally I'd like the life to be 5 years instead of 3 years, right? And the third thing is I would like a replacement battery to be available externally, like we used to have in the old mobile phones, if you remember at one time. We could replace the battery ourselves.
Yes.
Now, someone needs to design that. You may not meet all the criteria, but if you meet just the upgradable part and the repairable part, and someone designs a tablet and takes it out at the right price point with the right features, I think there's a huge market in India. And with this Make in India drive that the government has, I feel that that's something that can be done. So there are product opportunities uh, for the Indian market that I think people have to exploit.
That's true, sir. Like you have started the HCL Group. I still remember HCL was a pioneer in the computers, rather providing computers which are very economical. And even for connectivity, I remember HCL Comnet, which was a very initially of providing the VSAT connectivity at one point of time where it was very costly because we have been using that the HCL Comnet, then the computers. But HCL Group was, I think, did had a very long history on in this technological innovation, and technology has changed very fast. Uh, yes. So what do you and I understand that ACL Group is also going forward for the maybe in the newer technologies like chip manufacturing. How do you look forward for it? Because now the group has matured over the time with various kind of technologies. Because and it is one of the leaders in this technology. So how it is going in the future?
Yeah, so HCL has a reputation in the past. We built a reputation of being able to gamble and predict the right technology. So, just to give you an idea, when I go back, we were a worldwide beta site for the 5.25-inch floppy when the whole world was using 8-inch floppies. We were the first people in India to get hermetically sealed Winchester disk drives on our computers. I can go through a number of them, but I think one of our most important innovations was when we came out with our first computer. And by the way, the first 8-bit computer commercial. And I've got to mention that we came out with it in the same month and year in which the Apple one came out in the US, which now looking back and looking at India as a closed economy was quite an achievement. We didn't know about it at that time. Otherwise, we would have blown our horn a lot harder than we did. But bottom line was India had a power problem, and India did not have too many experienced programmers. Now, all of most people know that recovering a computer after a power failure is fairly complicated, especially if it's, I mean, forget a PC, but if it's a largest computer that's doing some work. So what we did was we built something called a power shut-off auto restart, PSAR as we called it, where we put a lead acid truck battery and connected it to the computer, and through software programming, we made sure that when the power failed, all the registers were held in place so that when the power came back, the computer started from exactly the point where it stopped. You didn't have to get experienced programmer, run JCL, do all the usual stuff that you have to do to try and recover a computer from a power failure. So, I still believe there is a lot of innovation to be done in India. I do believe, I mean, what has happened over the last few years, because software has sort of services and software have taken over the industry, the hardware part has pretty much died down. We are getting kits in from wherever, China, Taiwan, wherever we're getting them in. But I think if we start doing our own designs, and the government now gives you a design linked incentive, there is a market for Indian products in India. You've just got to make sure that you are competitive on price, because volumes give you lower prices on in components. And the other imperative for India, I think, is if we don't start making components in India, our import bill for components will exceed our import bill for oil in 5 years or so. And that is a little scary.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Alumni who would like to put in question to Malhotra sir can please put your hands on, or you can ask the questions over chat. I will put in to Malhotra sir. Anybody who would like to put in any questions? Sir, you are correct, sir. But as we see now, Apple is also shifting some of its manufacturing facilities to India. But design aspects, as you told rightly, it is still with US, most of the design. Maybe you are still manufacturing even the other things also. We are just assembling here. But either the manufacturing is going on in China and the main technology in US. I think maybe at some point of time we should be able to, India should be able to have some advancements, especially in the tip technologies and these areas. And government is also giving suitable PLIs. So these areas suitably evolve over time.
So, Siddharth, I've got to mention, you mentioned Apple and you talked about design. Apple has opened a design center in India, near Bangalore. In fact, the person who did that is an IIT Kharagpur alum, Itishan Chowdhury. And I was talking to him recently in the Bay Area, and he said that they thought it would take 2 years. They've needed to import some stuff from China, some machines. With the Chinese government seeing that design would be moving to India, had banned the import of that. They didn't allow the import. He thought it would take 2 years in his and Apple's estimate for local manufacturers to be able to give them that equipment. He said he was very pleasantly surprised that they were able to do it within 6 to 8 months. And so he said the capability exists in India if someone can tell them what is to be done. And so, Apple has a design center in India. There are some 1,500 plus GCCs. Now, a GCC is basically very different to a back office software unit where most people use the software unit only to uh, get lower cost software developed. A GCC actually is like a BI kind of unit. It does business intelligence for them. For most of them, I should say. And that is going to change the fact. I mean, companies like IBM have more employees in India than they have in the US. GE has more PhDs in India than anywhere else in the world. And the other thing you see today is earlier PhDs couldn't get jobs. Now there's a shortage of PhDs in India. So people want research, specialization, or people with that mindset to come in. And so you're going to see a lot of things happening, a lot of IP being developed in India.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We have a question from Ms. Alka. Ma'am, please.
1 minute. Hello, Arjun. Nice to see you. Uh, I want to ask a question which is not exactly in the line of, let's say, software, but related to an emerging field of EVs. One of the biggest areas of problems which EVs are facing here is about the battery swapping. The fact that you have to keep it on charge. Is what is your opinion on having a battery swapping concept, something like the way we have gas cylinders which are refilled and this thing? Do you think that will take off? Do you think there's an innovation opportunity there?
I mean, I've been talking to people and talking about it for a long time. In fact, one of the SAP founders had tried to do something in the US, but it sort of didn't work out. But bottom line is the government has to fix a standard. And what you do is you fix a cell as a standard and say a two-wheeler has two of those cells, a car has 8, a truck has 16, or whatever the numbers, right?
Yes, yes.
Now those cells, in those cells, you've also got to build kind of a meter that tells you what percentage of charge there still exists in the cell, right?
Yes.
Now, when you get to a gas station, you can exchange the cells. What you pay is, let's say, if you gave a cell with 30% charge left on it and you get 100% charge, you then pay for that 70%. It's like gas. If you got
Yes,
half a tank, you
exactly.
pay for half a
You give
tank.
half a cylinder, yeah, you refill it. Yes.
Yeah. So
Because
if we can do that, and if the
yeah,
government mandates that standard cell, that doesn't matter, and says that anyone who sells cars, trucks, two-wheelers in India has to have those cells as their battery. Otherwise, you can't sell in India. You'll be able to drive that. That is
yes,
one way of making sure
yeah,
you
some
see that.
amount of policy is required, because one of the reasons why people are being dissuaded from buying the cars, EVs, is basically there's a lot of interest in EVs, but we find that people are always worried about charges, especially those who take for long range rides. So, it's a deterrent for EVs in India. So I was wondering if something
It's
you'd like to suggest.
it's true in the US also. And in
Yeah.
fact, Trump has just scrapped, I forget the amount that Biden had put in the budget for highways to have EV stations every so many miles where people charge EVs. He's just scrapped that budget. Uh,
Yeah.
so,
So
yeah,
that's going to put
but the
everybody backwards.
other problem in India is
Hmm.
heating on the EV.
Yes,
The
I was going
present,
to come to that.
the present batteries catch fire when they get overheated, and with our ambient temperatures, weather, there's a good chance. So there's a lot of work going on with people. I know they're making controllers for batteries, seeing how to keep the cooling batteries in the Indian environment, the standard batteries that we have now. There's also some work going on identifying new chemicals, new
Hmm.
ingredients that can go into batteries. You don't have to have lithium ion only. Lithium
Hmm.
is a rare earth, rare
Yes,
and makes
yes.
it expensive. So you
Expensive.
can use sulfur or use something that's aluminium, something that's easily available and at a low cost and doesn't give you the heating problem, even if
Problem.
even if it's less efficient,
Hmm.
right?
It may be worthwhile because if fires and EVs are creating a huge havoc everywhere because we see every other day and one fire spreads to another nearby vehicles. So it's happening
Yeah,
quite often in India. And that's also a deterrent for people buying EVs. Otherwise, India is keen to go into the no, renewable energies. But let's see.
yeah.
Thanks, Arjun, for your inputs.
Not at
Nice
all.
to see you.
Sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah. Sir, now with this deep sea coming in, the AI has completely changed the world. Rather, it has given huge competition to the US this AI. And there's a question like in the this AI world, and most of the jobs are being automated. How do the see the society, especially in India, adapt to such a world? Maybe the question is about whether it will lead to job losses because we have a huge population here. Many of the jobs are low-end jobs. What do you feel is going to happen, or what should we do about it?
Okay, so I'll give you my view. It's not a view that too many people have, at least from what I've seen. See, I came up when computers were just coming out, and you can't imagine the problems we had with unions and fear that computers would take away jobs. Right. Now look at the world today. If you don't know how to use a computer, it's unlikely you'll have a job, right? And the number of jobs have actually multiplied quite considerably. I do believe the cycle will be the same with AI. You need to be able to use AI platforms, be knowledgeable on how to use them, and there'll be more jobs because the amount of data that's going to be created, which can be analyzed, is going to go up exponentially. Yes, there will be, as it happened in computers, there'll be a slight dip and then jobs pick up. That's the cycle. I think that cycle will come here. How long or what the cycle time is, I would be reluctant to predict, but I think it'll follow the same trend. That's my view. So, message is very simply, you've got to learn how to use AI platforms like you know how to use Excel and Word and a computer platform. And if you have that, you're very likely to have a job, and there'll be more jobs for people who have that kind of. That's my view. How it's going to impact us short term, yeah, it will have an impact short term. In fact, it's already having an impact because a lot of CXOs in large companies who don't really understand exactly what AI can do for them are holding decisions and holding recruitment because they don't want to recruit and then have to let go people X months later. And so lots of things are getting delayed. And that's why you see traditional industries like IT services that were growing at 20% per year, what number like that, are growing in single digit right now. Uh, there's also a lot of hype about why do you need programmers? Computers will do programming. There's a lot of hype about stuff like that. Some of it is true, not all. And for computers to replace human beings in everything that they do is going to take a long time. Computers, I'm talking of AI here. So until we find applications or solutions based on AI platforms, it's only hype. What ChatGPT has done is taken AI. AI was always in the lab. People were always working on it. You had products like fuzzy logic on washing machines and stuff. But what ChatGPT did was made it a consumer product. So, for example, my wife writes her emails off ChatGPT. A lot of people do that. The two problems: ChatGPT works on public knowledge or public network, public data. Public data is only 20% of the data. 80% of the data is inside companies. And companies will be reluctant, as you can see, some authors who had digitized their books are now yelling about copyright and royalties and stuff like that. But companies don't want to share their data. So they're going to have private cloud, do it in a different way. The other problem with AI is I don't know the bias of the programmer or programmers who wrote the platform. And so if I take something off an AI platform and publish it as my document or my work, it's going to have that bias, which I may not even know about. It may be completely inadvertent. And so you've got to be careful about a number of these things, and you're going to see some of those, uh, some way to measure what's going on, what you can do and what you can't do, and they're not going to come very easily because they are much more complex. And if you look at what has happened from China, DeepSeek, if you analyze what they've done, it's pure common sense. What they did was said, why do I have to manipulate a large LLM if I want to do only healthcare? Why don't I just do the healthcare part of the LLM, and then it's a smaller LLM, and I don't need that kind of compute power? Basic common sense. But, and if things come out of the US and Western Europe, those are countries that have never been resource constrained. You don't look at, you don't look at this as a limitation, or you don't try and optimize this, which is one reason why, for example, the Nano, a frugal engineered car, came out of India. It didn't come out of countries that had been making cars for so many more years. And so you're going to see some of these kind of breakthroughs are going to come from countries like that have been resource constrained, India being a very good example. In fact, we even have a word for innovation in a resource constrained environment. It's called jugaad. We all talk about it. We all mention it from time to time. And it's considered an asset to be jugaad. Right.
So we do really hope that this kind of technologies or Duga technologies too comes out of this kind of a thrift environment. Like even if you see this Raspberry Pi chip, it came out from UK, but it is a very a computer with a very maybe very cheap with it. But we do look forward this from this kind of technologies from a thrift technology like India or China. Sir, we have a question here from Ashish from the 2017 batch architecture. His question is, if somebody is leveraging technology and intellectual capital, what is the smartest path to building a $1 billion enterprise in today's landscape? Means he wants to utilize both technology and intellectual capital.
Yeah, you can see the answers. You see it in Google, you see it in what is now Meta, it was Facebook. You see the answers available in Microsoft. There are lots of companies that have just leveraged technology to become unicorns, right? A lot of them are doing that. Some of them so it's not just technology. You also got to find a way of implementing it effectively and taking it to the market. The best technology doesn't always win. If you go into history, look at how do I put it? It's technology, marketing, and timing. I think one thing about HCL was we came out when microprocessors were just coming out. So that timing really helped us because we were able to leverage microprocessors and provide solutions or products based on microprocessors much quicker than some of the other companies could. And microprocessors allowed us to do things or provide power or whatever we needed to do to our customer base much before other people could do it. So while the VAX VMSs from digital equipment and all, and IBM mainframes did get sold even when we were selling our computers, when microprocessors became more and more powerful, we were able to challenge some of those mini computer vendors in terms of what their computing power was, the number of terminals, or whatever measure you took that provided them. And using our uh, available knowledge and expertise, we built multi-processors based on that. And so we were then able to challenge even the million-dollar companies like MIPS and Pyramid that had parallel processors that were going at that kind of price. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to, I think people, I mean, a lot of people come with the mindset that I'll make this great product and people will line up to buy it. Doesn't work that way.
Sir, we have a question from Pankaj Singh ji. What are the emerging tech fields in which India should invest for long-term development?
So this is it's a very good point. Anyone who's looking at the future and trying to predict what will happen is taking a risk, right? Traditionally, bureaucrats and governments don't take risks. So they'll be followers by and large. They're unlikely to be uh, innovators in that area or pioneers in that area. But I look at, yeah, today, if you ask me if I had a kid in college or going to college, what would I tell him or her to study? I would say biomedical, genetics, technology, and biology. I think in the next 10 years, that's going to be where major changes are going to take place. What the pandemic has done is got the medical industry, doctors, uh, a lot more comfortable with technology, and accepting of that technology. And so you're going to see a lot of uh, enhanced uh, implementation action in that area. If you're talking of 15, 20 years, my guess would be nanotechnology, because I think it's already coming in. You're already seeing it in uh, carbon fab, carbon fab, fib, carbon fiber bodies that are on the Dreamliner, that are on the Tesla cars and others, where it's much lighter but stronger than steel. And so it gives them a lot of advantages. You're seeing also, I don't know if you're aware, that there are some sunblocks that use nanocrystals, which the way they work is it reflects the sunlight back, so it doesn't hurt your skin. And so you're starting to see things like that. Why nano will take some time is because nanoparticles, if you remember your Feynman, and he was the one who came up with it, he said that nanoparticle science is not Newtonian science. They follow a different science. And so the big problem is you'll have to unlearn and relearn for people to actually make real breakthroughs there. And unlearning is a really difficult thing to do. So if you're asking me, I would invest in, biotech clusters, which I think BIRAC is looking to do. I would do it a lot more aggressively, try and pull a lot of these pharma development companies who are around New Jersey in the US. Earlier, you couldn't pull them in because the cost of the workstation was so high that the person's cost was not the significant factor. Now, with the hardware price coming down and the person behind the hardware sitting on the computer being the more expensive part, I can give you that knowledge or that intellectual power in India at a fraction of the price it costs you. And so, why would you not come into a place like India, given the right kind of facilities? Yes, there'll be some issues on intellectual property and stuff because, and rightly so, our model is that if it's life-threatening, I'm not going to pay the fancy prices that you charge in the US. I will give it at a affordable price to the Indian consumer. And I fully agree with that conceptually.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So we have some questions from Sri Ramesh Bhatwadekar, sir, from 1980 batch. Ramesh, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, that is actually, hi Arjun, nice to be connected. I had heard from Indra Singhal, who is my batchmate, and stays in Bay Area. Okay. So you are in hardware, means business, but I just wanted to understand which will take ahead more, like hardware, embedded software, or AI-based software. Because, for example, camera also, which is there, software plays more role, mobile phones in the, so it's just your thoughts, what is there going to happen future, which is going to take more aggressively?
I think ultimately software is what will control everything. So you've got to have software, but it cannot work without hardware. And hardware, now we've hit a kind of a block because there's only so much I can squeeze silicon in terms of size. But they're now looking at some new materials to make chips that will actually put more chips on a wafer so that with the same size, I can give you a lot more performance. What's also coming on the other side is what we call quantum computers, right? Now, I don't want to get into a detailed decision, but just remember the computers we use today are deterministic. They will always tell you 2 plus 2 is 4. Quantum computers are probabilistic. They will not tell you 2 plus 2 is 4. It could be 5, it could be 3, because they also look at the sort of environment around it and then give you what is the most probabilistic solution rather than the exact solution, right? It's closer to the way we look at things because a lot of things don't have exact solutions. They have, probably this will work better than that or whatever. And computers have never been able to do that. They like to give you a exact kind of number. Quantum will change that. And if quantum can move away from this near absolute zero, and I think it has because Google has just given what they call a quantum chip. I don't know exactly what it does, but if it does what a quantum computer does, then that would be something that will be bigger than AI in some ways if it comes out. Now, I still think hardware is important because without that, you can't really build software, right? But in all fairness, software is going to be a much bigger industry than hardware. Hardware is going to be very focused, very high cost. Putting a fab is going to cost you 40 billion. You'll have to upgrade it every few years because technology changes. What you do with the old fab, what they're doing today, let's say with the DRAM fab, is hopefully converted to bipolar and give you things that bipolar doesn't need that kind of smaller size in terms of how many microns and stuff like that. But yeah, but it's a crazy, and people who are in it are holding on to it very tight. Technically, a Samsung could easily give me an old fab at a discount and let me produce chips that are of a larger size or whatever, but they don't want to do that because then I learn the business and I might then become smarter than them over time. And so we are trying to restrict people's entry into that space, which is why it's so important for India to get a fab, or at least have some fab, some way to fabricate chips that we need. By the way, I did corrupt Indra Singhal. I made him a sales agent for our calculators when we were
I know.
computers. Yeah.
Yes, I know.
He tells me I changed his life.
Yes, he was very happy.
He made too much money.
Yes, no, he told me. I mean, so that's why I just remembered, and nice to be connected with you. And
but that's an interesting story.
Yes,
I was at Calcutta in the Calcutta office, and we had just reduced the prices of our pocket calculators from 930 rupees to 770 rupees. And Indra, as a student, had bought the calculator at 930. And he had come into office trying to say, look, I'm a student, I bought it, I need the differential as a discount. But if I had bought it 1 week later, it would have been 770 instead of 930. So he was talking to a guy outside. I could listen to everything. I was in the room. And and of course, we were a startup. No way we could return money. And we were a bootstrapped startup. So I still remember I was listening to it. And then Indra told him I'm a student from IIT Kharagpur. So the sales guy immediately decided he doesn't have to handle it. He said, oh, my boss is also from Kharagpur. Why don't you talk to him? So Mr. Singhal lands up in my room. I let him give me this whole story, which I've already overheard, basically. And then I told him, look, the classic stuff, that look at a problem as an opportunity. Said, I don't have a salesman in Kharagpur. Students need calculators. Why don't you become my sales guy? I'll give you a commission. And use this as a demonstration machine. That's what happened. That's what he did. Sorry, you're on mute again.
No, I'm not mute. I'm able to hear you. Nice.
No, Siddharth was on mute.
Sorry, sir. Thank you, Ramesh, sir.
I have got one question.
Yeah,
Sure.
please.
Basically, sir, I believe that unless you involve very large number of people, because we have got 1.4 billion people in India. So unless we involve a very large portion of that, we shall not be able to develop. If it is only for the development, is only for the elite, of course, that is also required. But if we are able to involve very large number of people, our share in the world economy will rise. So I would like, sir, you're a thought leader. So I would like your views, how to kind of find opportunity in the demography of people in India. Sir.
So first thing is we need to educate them. That's a very important part of what we need to do. I mean, when I say educate, basic education, I think you can't have illiterate people and then expect them to become consumers and, buy any product that you sort of make. But it's changing. I think we've also got to find a way of providing basic healthcare, education, infrastructure. 3 things we need to put together before we can talk of becoming a global player. The opportunity is huge. See, we've done some good things. Like I now spend some time on public health. So we have in every village, we have an ASHA worker, we have an Anganwadi worker. And in every cluster of villages, we have an auxiliary nurse midwife. Right. Now, basically, even with this infrastructure, there are 1 million deaths of infants every year in India. Right. This was set up to try and address that as one of the basic things. I mean, there are multiple problems, but one simple problem is that they don't exchange data. They have 11 registers. They're supposed to meet once every 2 weeks and match the registers. You and I know that even if we sat down for one day, 11 registers from 3 sources, we're never going to be able to match it, or the match will be not very good. But if I gave them a smart device, whether a tablet or a phone, and they put the data there, and it automatically shared with the other people's smart devices, I would have instant sharing of data. And I would know which pregnancy is high risk. I would know who's, had a baby, underweight baby, what they're doing. The nurse would know. We would try and get them to private public health center, community health center, whatever, to make sure they take the vaccination or the iron or whatever is needed. for the mother. There lots of, we know what's to be done. We don't know when to do it to whom. And it's not that we don't know, that data is there. It doesn't come to the person who's going to give them that solution. Simple. You will save at least half, and I'm being very conservative, 500,000 lives a year. Now think of what is the value of that. So we've got, there are lots of things we have to do before we can dream of becoming global. I mean, all that is nice for us in the towns to listen to. But when you go to the village, they just want a better quality of life. They just look at Bengal. I mean, I come to Kharagpur. It's been 55 years since I first came to IIT Kharagpur. For the villages I pass, nothing seems to have changed. Yes, I see some more motorcycles. I see a few tractors, which I never used to see earlier. But other than that, nothing has changed. In fact, in some ways, things are going backward because I see fast food chains. And that's going to create other health problems when people grow up. So we have our own issues that we need to solve. And yeah, I also want India to be a global power. I want us to be able to, if we can leverage that 1.4 billion people and make them consumers, you will be the largest economy in the world. That's what China has done in some ways, and looked at the export market for manufacturing. But yeah, it's the problems are ours. They are ours to solve. I don't have a solution. Unfortunately, we don't have a set of politicians who have solutions either. They seem to be more interested in power than in actually making a difference. In fact, I go back, it reminds me, many years ago, right after the emergency, in Allahabad, Mrs. Gandhi was standing. There was a gentleman called H.N. Paguna. I don't know if you remember the name, but they were standing for elections. And I.S. Johar, who used to be an actor, comedian, was standing as an independent. And he made a statement at one of the rallies that I've never forgotten. He said, India is a country of first-class people who are made second-class by third-class politicians. And I look back and think how true it is in some ways, even today. Why do IITians do so well, or why do Indians do so well when they go abroad? Because they're given a little more freedom. They're given a little more way to be entitled to do things. There are no real restrictions. You don't feel the limitations that you have in India. Why do people think HCL was such a big thing? Is because within those restrictions, we were able to create a company that's now become global. Yeah, I mean, I look back and think, yeah, how did we do it? I have no idea in the sense. But one thing we accepted that we would not accept anything as impossible. I'm not going to break any laws, but I will work around the system if I have to meet my goals and objectives. I'm not telling people to do that. Today, lots of things have changed. The system is not that onerous. I can give you lots of stories of what we did and what happened with us in HCL and how we, survived and worked around the system, so to say. But yeah, times have changed. It's a lot easier, a lot better. It's not yet as efficient as it should be, but yeah, it's much better. You don't have a license Raj anymore to start. So I think we are loosening our belt. Again, part of it is attitudinal. Even today, when you go to customs, they think if you're from a profit-making company, you must be a crook, or you must be doing something illegal, or something that's not right, which is crazy. Because someone who's trying to do something good and make it self-sustaining and make some money should not be treated as a criminal. So,
Yeah,
sorry,
thank you,
I'm getting
sir.
emotional about this. But yeah,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
sir.
Sir.
So
No,
I have a
just one
Go
second.
ahead. Sorry, Pankaj.
Yeah, actually, politicians will be politicians, sir. But as technologists and engineers, I'll just ask one small this thing for if you can answer that whether there'll be role for AI in managing this 1.4 billion people? Like you said, of course, you have said about healthcare and basic education and all that, but it will take some time to percolate to the down below. So will there be a role for AI in this?
100%. 100%. I think what AI can do is take a lot of the data that you have. And, one good thing about India is we collect the data, whether it's written in a paper or whichever way. We have lots of data. If we can find a way to digitize it in a structured form, even unstructured form, actually, and feed it into AI with the right kind of questions, it'll give me answers that I today predict or I do it by gut. The attitude I was talking about that we need to overcome is and it's happened, I've seen it happen personally, is you go with a solution and say, if this gets implemented, public health care, at least that maternal health would improve. And you go to the block, or say the district health officer, and his first reaction is, Mera kaam bad jayega. That attitude has to change. People shouldn't feel they get paid a salary for doing nothing.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, I think we are almost reached the end of this session. We have a number of questions. We can have time for one last question. It is from Sri Dipankar Moitra. So he is asking, what do you feel after AI can be the next big disruptor in technology?
Yeah, I think it's going to be in the whole biotech, bioinformatics, in that whole area, the confluence of medicine and technology. You're already seeing and there are some moral questions that get asked there. Stem cells, you're already seeing some questions being asked about ethics and stuff in that area. But lots of interesting work going on. For example, the two cancers that we detect late are ovarian and pancreatic. And already I think there are solutions, potential solutions to detect them early, awaiting FDA clearance. They're going through whatever, they have the process that they need to go through. You're also seeing, and I'll give you an example of how nano and medicine and all. So cancer, when I do chemotherapy today, I destroy the cancer cell, but I destroy a lot of good cells around the cancer cell also, right? If I could find a way to focus on the cancer cell alone, that would make it a lot more efficient. So what they're experimenting with is a small nano thing with a camera on it, with communication, which you can swallow. They control it, take it to that cancer cell, and then it destroys that cell and then biodegrades in your body. Now think about how this looks like science fiction, was science fiction 4 or 5 years ago, but it's actually, the people are working on it today. They're experimenting with it. It's going to become a technology in X years. I can't predict how many years, but things like that are happening. And that's where I think the future is going to be. AI is first of all, AI is not going to go away after 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It's been there for a long time. I first heard of AI when I went to Carnegie Mellon I think in 1980, when Raj Reddy was talking about it, and he actually, I think, was running a course at Carnegie Mellon on AI. Lots of papers got published. It stayed in the lab, didn't really have applications developed around it. We didn't have the compute power that could make it effective. That has changed now. And so you're going to see lots of applications come up. I hope you're going to see a lot of applications come up on AI that will actually allow you to do things that are much more effective. I mean, another example is, take 1 million X-rays, I feed them into an AI, and I program it right. It'll be able to predict, when I give them a new X-ray, which are the 5 or 7 points you need to look at for possible problems. Now, I would think a good radiologist can remember 10,000 in his head, but AI system can take millions and it can learn if it, as new X-rays come in with analysis. It's something that's going to happen. So now I don't need to have a doctor near me. If I have an AI system and I have an X-ray at some remote place with a portable X-ray machine, that'll be able to tell the doctor where to look for possible problems. At some stage, it'll tell you what problems are. I don't think doctors are ready to accept it today, but it'll probably be better than a radiologist in telling you where the problems are likely to be or where the problems are. No one trusts a machine today, but maybe a grandchildren's generation or maybe their children will trust machines. And then you don't need the doctor to do that analysis. The machine will do it. You see it on Star Trek. You see it on, you see it on some of these science fiction movies. It's going to become reality.
So as a
What
matter
will
of
delay it,
fact,
what will delay it is in our mind, like, would you take a prescription from a machine instead of a doctor? It's unlikely. You still want a doctor because that's how we've been brought up. But when that changes in our mind or in a human mind, you'll be much more comfortable taking it from a machine than taking it from a person.
sir, I think AI has already come up in diagnostics. Like I think we are with there have been recently in the Infocom, this recent Infocom which I attended, they are programming the AI models like that so that when they have their scans or the blood test reports, they can automatically, predict what kind of issues you have and maybe much faster, much more accurately. Even Elon Musk has this launched this Grok project in which once you upload your reports, the models is getting trained on, and it will be at some point of time giving much more accurate report than a maybe a doctor. And I
Yes,
think
I agree, but will you accept it as the final report, or you still want a doctor to sign off on it, a human being to sign off on it? See, that's the problem we have right now.
that's true, sir. But AI does give us an opportunity to test its diagnosis, like
It,
how correct it is, and you can always cross check it today, which was not available maybe at your time, because
yeah,
with this click of a mouse you can know what are the aspects of the diseases. Uh,
absolutely. But people still want a doctor to sign off on it.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, absolutely.
So it's
Arjun,
in
I
a
was
way, what happens is if you do an X-ray in the US today, they actually send it to India overnight. Someone here
yeah,
does the analysis, sends it back to them by the morning, but the doctor there has to sign off on it. Otherwise, it's not accepted. So I've had a few X-rays in the US, and I've had some Jasminder Kaur sign it, and then someone there, my local doctor sign it, uh, because they made laws that analysis done outside the US not acceptable. So someone in the US has to countersign it. Those things are going to change. All I'm saying is those are the things, once they change and our mental attitude changes, we should be able to accept machines doing analysis through AI.
No, absolutely, sir. Uh,
yeah. 1 minute, Siddharth. Can I ask a question, please?
yeah,
Last
please,
one,
please.
small
Yeah.
one, huh? Arjun, we
Go
were
ahead.
with Pratap Khanvilkar. I don't know whether you know him. 1984 Nehru Hall, electrical engineering. He's into medtech, and he's presently at the University of Pittsburgh. So I was with him last week. He's just gone back to the States. He's done some good work on targeted drug delivery. In fact, he holds a patent for it, as well as about artificial heart also. So he was updating about the applications of artificial intelligence in the medical field. And I think the things which you were saying, because this radiology report being outsourced to India, it was happening in my company when I was operating a BPO some 15 years back. So it's already been there. And, I asked you a question about beyond AI, what do you see? In the Silicon Valley, what research is going on currently?
As I said, a lot of it is with the CRISPR and in the whole biotech area, and a lot of work on nano. Those are the two areas where people are really working on right now. I mean, quantum, sorry, I missed out of that. But yeah, those are the areas. There's a lot of work on materials, material science, where they're trying to see how they can make get materials. See, silicon has reached its limit. I can't make it any smaller than what it is in terms of putting it on chips. So they need some new material, and they're looking for different kinds of materials that are as efficient or more efficient than silicon and are available in abundance and can be refined stroke produced fairly easily. So there's a lot of work. In fact, the nice thing about being in Silicon Valley is every week, 2 or 3 people come up with their ideas, some applications, some basic, and they want funding, so they have to educate me to say whether I'd be interested. And so I learn a lot from them because I'm not operationally running any company right now. But it's fun to see what's going on. And according to me, they're going to make if I live longer, they're going to make my life a lot easier, which makes me feel good. Okay.
Thank you.
I think
Yeah,
I've got.
and
By the
thank you
way,
for
you mentioned MedTech. One of my batchmates just retired, 30 plus years, 40 years with Medtronic. Again, on the heart, electrical engineer, 70 batch Kharagpur, lots of patents, amazing work that he did in that area. And by the way, I don't know how many of you know that a Kharagpur alum in Los Angeles has got 2 Oscars for graphics, screen graphics. One of them in Avatar, if you've seen Avatar.
Avatar, yeah.
Yeah, so he got an Oscar for that, and he got an Oscar for something before. So he's got 2 Oscars, Kharagpur alum. So,
Developed where, in Chennai?
No, in the US, in LA.
Oh, I thought it was all outsourced to Chennai.
That they might have done, but he works out of LA.
Who is the person? Tell us the name.
I will get you his name. It's not coming to the top of my head right now, but I've met him a few times. I will have a look. IIT Kharagpur cinema Oscars. You'll probably find his name.
Okay, I'll have a search.
Maharashtrian name. It's a Maharashtrian name. I know his family is in Pune because I met some of them. That's how I tracked him.
So other than you being a legend in Kharagpur, we want to thank you for developing a fabulous family, because Shiven has, pledged some 350,000 shares to IIT Kharagpur. So that's a fabulous thing, because other than being successful in your career, you've also done a good job being a parent, and the tradition is still going on, and we are so thankful to you.
Oh,
Thank you, Arjun. I met you in 2019 at Kharagpur when you were there. So I don't think you'll remember me, but it's good to know you and good to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you. You're being very kind. Yes, Shiven is a much better human being than I am. And I feel proud about that. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Siddharth. You're on mute again. Siddharth, you're on mute.
Yeah, sir, we thank you for a very nice session today. Rather, Pratap Singh, sir, we had this session in the last month, in which he was telling about the artificial heart and this thing. So we are having this session every month. I request all of our alumni to join in the second Saturday of the month at 5 p.m. to hear to some of our very eminent alumni in their respective fields. I request Pankaj Singh, sir, to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, Arjun, sir. You are an iconic figure in the field of technology, not only for IIT Kharagpur, but among all IITs and by extension for the whole country. So it has been great to hear your personal views and to get insights directly from you. Your insights on design centers and your faith in Indian capability was really inspiring. If there is any budding entrepreneur in this group, he can take tips from you, as you suggested for the rural areas, repairable laptop, replaceable batteries and for easy upgradation. So if someone comes up with such product, there is really need for that. So he can benefit from your wise words. So thank you, sir. And thanks to all the alums who are present today for this foundation lecture series. Thank you all. And thanks to the foundation members, particularly President Sri Venkat Raza and Secretary Sri Siddhartha. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank you. Thank
words
you.
and-
Thank you, Arjun.
Not at all.
Bye.
Look forward to. Take care.